Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm Akeem Lawanson, filling in for Stella Chung, and this is the Weekly Fix, the show where we round up all the gaming and entertainment headlines you may have missed this week. Now, the FTC's lawsuit against Microsoft over the Activision Blizzard acquisition has finally reached a verdict. Plus, EA has announced a new Black Panther game. Now, in the entertainment world, we get our first look at Hugh Jackman in Deadpool 3, and the Barbie movie will be banned in Vietnam for an interesting reason. Now, the news is breaking, and we can't stop the fever. It's newsing time.
The wait is over, and we have a decision on the recent trial between the FTC and Microsoft. Judge Jacqueline Scott Corley has ruled in favor of Microsoft, denying the FTC's preliminary injunction request. Judge Corley said in the ruling, Microsoft's acquisition of Activision has been described as the largest in tech history. It deserves scrutiny. That scrutiny has paid off. Microsoft has committed in writing, in public, and in court to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation for 10 years on parity with Xbox. It made an agreement with Nintendo to bring Call of Duty to Switch, and it entered several agreements to, for the first time, bring Activision's content to several cloud gaming services. For the reasons explained, the court finds the FTC has not shown a likelihood it will prevail on its claim this particular vertical merger in this specific industry may substantially lessen competition. To the contrary, the record evidence points to more consumer access to Call of Duty and other Activision content. The motion for a preliminary injunction is therefore denied. In a statement issued to IGN, FTC spokesperson Douglas Farrar said, "We are disappointed in this outcome given the clear threat this merger poses to open competition in cloud gaming, subscription services, and consoles. In the coming days, we'll be announcing our next step to continue our fight to preserve competition and protect consumers." The decision leaves the door open for Microsoft to complete the buyout before the July 18th deadline. It could finalize the deal immediately. But the company still has some hurdles to go through with regulators, such as the UK's Competition Markets Authority, or CMA, which blocked the deal earlier this year. Microsoft has since appealed the decision, and a hearing is set for July 28th and will conclude on August 4th. In an updated statement issued to IGN, Microsoft's Brad Smith said it is now considering how the transaction might be modified in order to address the CMA's concerns. As a result, Microsoft, Activision, and the CMA have agreed on a stay of the litigation in the UK. This means a pause of Microsoft's appeal in the UK as the three parties hash out a satisfactory restructure of the transaction. And there is still an upcoming trial with the FTC set for August, but everything does seem to be coming up Milhouse for Microsoft and Activision.
Everything's coming up Milhouse!
Now, speaking of Activision becoming a part of Xbox, the boss of Blizzard has insisted Diablo 4 will not come to Game Pass amid rumors the action role-playing game is set to hit Microsoft's subscription service. Responding to a tweet that mentioned Diablo 4's availability in Xbox Game Pass, Blizzard president Mike Ibarra said plainly, "This is not happening." That's a definitive sounding statement, but it hasn't stopped some fans from wondering whether Diablo 4 will eventually come to Game Pass if Microsoft's proposed $69 billion buyout of Activision Blizzard goes through, which is seeming more and more likely. During the FTC trial, Activision Blizzard boss Bobby Kotick admitted he's not a fan of multi-game subscription services, hence why Activision games have largely failed to appear on them. If the acquisition happens, Kotick acknowledged he'll be stuck with Game Pass whether he likes it or not. He said, "I don't agree with the idea of a multi-game subscription service as a business proposition going forwards, but we, Activision and Microsoft, can agree to disagree." Square Enix has listened to player complaints and included an option to turn off motion blur in Final Fantasy XVI's first post-launch patch. Update 1.03 adds a motion blur strength slider in the main menu, allowing players to increase or decrease the intensity of motion blur or turn it off altogether. This comes after several players found the visual effect to be nauseating. It was intended to give a sense of speed, cover up low frame rate, or make the action seem smoother. A handful of other changes are included in the patch, such as an increased range of camera sensitivity options, new controller layouts, and some bug fixes. Final Fantasy XVI launched June 22nd to very positive fan reception. In our 9 out of 10 review, we said it's certainly a departure from what fans may expect out of a Final Fantasy game, but its excellent story, characters, and world building are right up there with the best the series has to offer. Moving on, Nintendo has finally explained how its upcoming sleep tracking game, Pokemon Sleep, will actually work. The long-awaited smartphone app will let players add Pokemon to their sleep-style decks by, well, sleeping. Players must place their smartphones or Pokemon Go Plus next to their pillow overnight, and the app will track the quality and style of their sleep. Snorlax will be players' main companion in the app, but sleeping in different styles like dozing, snoozing, or slumbering will bring in additional Pokemon who sleep in the same way. Pokemon also have several different styles of sleep and therefore have multiple forms to add to the decks. Having better quality sleep, such as by sleeping for longer, will earn players points that increase Snorlax's drowsy power, letting it draw in more Pokemon. Sleeping for 8.5 hours will give Snorlax 100 points, for example, while sleeping for only 4 hours will get Snorlax around 50. The game will also seemingly reward players with different Pokemon depending on their type of sleep. Talking in your sleep was shown alongside a Jigglypuff in Singing Sleep. Pokemon Sleep was announced way back in May 2019 and still lacks a launch date, though it finally awoke from its slumber in February this year with new details and a summer release window. We'll share that release date with you when we have it.
EA has officially announced a new Black Panther video game is being developed by the newly founded Cliffhanger Studios. Now, the game is going to be a third-person single-player action adventure. Now, we don't know when it'll be released or what platforms it's intended for. Now, the project is being led by Kevin Stevens, who was studio head at Monolith during the development of Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor, and Shadow of War. Stevens stated, quote, "We're dedicated to delivering fans a definitive and authentic Black Panther experience, giving them more agency and control over their narrative than they have ever experienced in a story-driven video game. Wakanda is a rich superhero sandbox, and our mission is to develop an epic world for players who love Black Panther and want to explore the world of Wakanda as much as we do." If you read between the PR speak there, the key takeaways are that it sounds like it'll take place primarily, if not entirely, in Wakanda. And no word on it being open world, but the term sandbox certainly suggests as much. Stressing the player's control over the story sounds like there'll be a branching narrative. Now, maybe Black Panther will have something similar to Shadow of Mordor's revolutionary nemesis system where random orc enemies would basically hold a grudge against the player. Now, that specific technology is patented by WB Interactive Entertainment, but it'd be cool to see something along those lines. Now, this is the second game announced from EA's multi-game partnership with Marvel Games. Now, there's also the Iron Man game being developed by EA's Motive Studio. Now, this is also the second AAA video game in development that will involve Black Panther, or at least a Black Panther. Now, there's also Skydance New Media's Untitled game that'll have one of Wakanda's protectors working alongside Captain America. In other news about EA-published video games based on Disney-owned intellectual property, some job postings suggest the third entry in the Star Wars Jedi series is already in development at Respawn Entertainment. Now, found on EA's job listing portal, one position is for a senior VFX artist to work on Star Wars Jedi, which is pretty cut and dry. Now, one interesting detail is that experience with Unreal Engine 5 is a big plus, which suggests this is a whole new video game, rather than just a DLC, since Jedi Survivor was developed in Unreal Engine 4. Now, the other job listing is for a senior combat designer on the more vague Star Wars team at Respawn's LA studio. Now, this could very well be a third Jedi game, or it could be for Respawn's Star Wars FPS that EA announced was in the works back in March. In an IGN Unfiltered interview, Star Wars Jedi Survivor's director said he thought of these games as a trilogy. Now, that was by no means an official announcement, but considering Fallen Order sold well above expectations and its sequel sold even better, it's not at all surprising that a third one would be in the works.
Blizzard dropped a new patch for Diablo 4 yesterday, which, among other things, added unique items to the Helltide chest loot pool. Helltide mystery chests are special chests available to those who take part in Helltide events. A lot of players welcomed the change, especially those going after the rarest items in the game. These uniques are so rare, some fans have compared earning one to winning the lottery or getting struck by lightning. For you statistics nerds out there, the chances of someone winning the Mega Millions lottery in the US is like 1 in 176 million. So while I'm not sure those are the same odds of you getting, say, the Doombringer sword, it's still not very likely you'll pop open a chest and see a unique in there. However, Blizzard very abruptly disabled these super rare uniques from dropping in-game entirely. Apparently, there was an unnamed issue related to the Helltide chests. Blizzard community manager Pez Radar posted on the Diablo 4 forum saying, quote, "Players will not be able to obtain the 6 uber unique items until a hotfix, which we expect to be implemented on Friday afternoon Pacific time. Other unique items will still be available from these chests." Players are speculating that the uniques were probably dropping faster than Blizzard liked. Redditor Historical Duty 3834 has some anecdotal evidence, sharing a screenshot of the Harlequin crest on their character sheet saying, quote, "I opened a Helltide chest with about 10 seconds left in it and was scrambling to take a pic for my friends I was playing with." Obviously, players are not happy about it. Twitter user @JBSluggy responded to Blizzard's tweet about the change with, quote, Please take this response as a sign that people actually want to have a chance to obtain these cool uniques. Even if it's a 1% chance, it's still better than a 0.00001% chance. Blizzard's hotfix should be live sometime this afternoon, so if you're watching this after the hotfix, comment below if you've noticed any changes. In Street Fighter news, the latest release in the long-running fighting game series has just passed 2 million units sold in a little over a month. Street Fighter 6 is still going strong after an impressive launch weekend, which saw 1 million copies sold. And to coincide with the announcement, Capcom has dropped a new trailer featuring Rashid, who was first introduced in Street Fighter V and will be joining 6's roster as DLC on July 24th. That's just 6 days before my birthday. This continues Capcom's winning streak with strong reviews and sales of the Resident Evil 4 remake earlier this year.
A Ubisoft employee has claimed the Japan-based Assassin's Creed Codename Red is launching in 2024. As reported by Eurogamer, fan site Access the Animus shared a screenshot of a LinkedIn post on Twitter from a Ubisoft marketing employee seeking sponsoring partners for Assassin's Creed Codename Red. The game was described as the biggest blockbuster for 2024. The post also alluded to the creation of a tie-in manga series and podcasts that will be involved in an upcoming marketing push. The LinkedIn message, which was initially made over 4 months ago but only spotted recently, has since been edited to remove the reference to 2024. Codename Red was revealed during the September 2022 Ubisoft Forward presentation, which also saw the unveiling of the eerie, seemingly witchcraft-themed Assassin's Creed Codename Hex, alongside the upcoming franchise hub Assassin's Creed Infinity. Codename Red will be set in feudal Japan and is being developed by Ubisoft Quebec under the leadership of Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Immortals Phoenix Rising director Jonathan Dumont. It's also promised to be the next premium flagship title in the series and the future of Ubisoft's open-world games. AC fans have been asking for a Japan setting for a long time, maybe too long. IGN user Proc7 writes, "They took too long and Ghosts of Tsushima is an amazing game that has set a high bar, so there will be comparisons." Next up, Sony has revealed the lineup of games joining the PlayStation Plus games catalog in July. They include It Takes Two, Sniper Elite 5, World War Z, and more. A grand total of 15 games are set to join the games catalog, available to extra and premium tier PS Plus subscribers, while a further 3 titles will join the classic games catalog, which is available exclusively for premium members. All of the new additions will be available to download from July 18th. Among the new offerings is the co-op extravaganza It Takes Two, which, since its March 2021 release, has sold over 10 million copies worldwide while also nabbing a number of prestigious prizes. We gave it a 9 out of 10. The catalog will also get a grittier offering in the form of Sniper Elite 5. This latest entry to the series sees protagonist Carl Fairburn battle the failing Nazi army through the war-torn landscape of France circa 1944. Developer Rebellion added a slew of incremental tweaks to the franchise, including enhanced co-op and improved character maneuverability, while also keeping the series' iconic X-ray kill cam reassuringly gory. We gave it a 7 out of 10. Other highlights this month include SpongeBob SquarePants' Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, Dynasty Warriors 9, and My Little Pony: A Maritime Bay Adventure. The Classics catalog, meanwhile, will see the addition of the original Twisted Metals 1 and 2 ahead of the release of the live-action streaming adaptation of the franchise, which is set to premiere on July 27th. Sony says these classics have been enhanced with up-rendering, rewind, quick save, and custom video filters. Again, these will all be available on July 18th.
Now it's time for us to take a very quick break, but when we come back, the new Godzilla film officially gets its name, plus we get our first look at Wolverine in Deadpool 3. We'll see you in a bit. Hey y'all, welcome back. Now the Barbie movie has been banned in Vietnam due to a map in the background of one shot. But first, Hugh Jackman is returning as Wolverine in Deadpool 3, and we finally got our first look at his costume. Let's check it out. After decades of playing Wolverine on the big screen, we've never seen Hugh Jackman bring the iconic character to life in his tried and true X-Men uniform we're familiar with. Until now, that is. In the upcoming Deadpool 3 film, Jackman will be wearing the outfit first seen within the pages of Hulk issue number 180 back in 1962. And we know this because co-star Ryan Reynolds posted this photo to his Instagram stories showing the heroic pair walking down a dirt road. And as you can see, we've got Hugh Jackman sporting the recognizable Wolverine outfit, trading in the blue underwear for long sleeves. That's probably the most comic book accurate appearance we'll get at this time of Logan, so no complaints here. That's really wild that it's taken this long for us to see the iconic outfit show up in live action. And while it is nice that we're finally getting to see it, it would have also been quite nice to see the rest of the X-Men appear on screen in recognizable outfits. But while we might not see all of the X-Men appear in the upcoming Deadpool movie, we can look forward to them returning in the upcoming Disney Plus X-Men 97 animated series slated to release later this year. And with Deadpool 3's Wolverine bearing a striking resemblance to his animated counterpart in the teased image, perhaps the Wolverine we'll see in the film is based on that particular variant. Now, as we all know, the original Wolverine Hugh Jackman played in the X-Men films died in 2017's Logan, so perhaps the Wolverine we see in Deadpool 3 is a variant. Now, in an interview earlier this year, Jackman did say he'll be playing dual roles in Deadpool 3. Now, he didn't go into detail as to what that means, so we can only speculate at this point. But given that the MCU has entered its multiversal phase of various variants running rampant, it's possible we might be seeing a Wolverine separate from the one we've seen in previous X-Men movies. Or it might just be the Logan from X-Men Origins Wolverine, as Deadpool has in fact gone back in time to clean up the MCU timeline and teased having Wolverine in the third film.
Hey, it's me. Don't scratch. Just cleaning up the timelines. Look, eventually, you're gonna hang up the claws, and it's gonna make a lot of people very sad.
Huh?
But one day, your old pal Wade's gonna ask you to get back in the saddle again. And when he does, say yes.
Oh, right.
So maybe Hugh Jackman is reprising his role from the original X-Men films and potentially playing a Wolverine variant from another universe. Who knows? Now, the Barbie movie isn't even out yet, but it's already finding a little bit of controversy overseas. Now, Greta Gerwig's Barbie film has been banned in Vietnam due to a depiction of a world map in the background of one scene. Now, you're probably wondering why an obviously fake world map would cause real-world problems for the film in Vietnam. Well, according to some, the map supposedly features what is known as the 9-dash line, which is a disputed territorial marking that violates Vietnamese sovereignty, according to Vietnamese officials. Now, without giving you too much of a history lesson, the 9-dash line is a contour shape China uses on maps laying arguable claim to most of the South China Sea. Now, while that Barbie map might look harmless at a glance, the placement of a dashed line bears enough resemblance to it that it's earned a ban in Vietnam. Now, the line in question is seen here in this Barbie movie photo, where you can see 8 dashed lines near the continent of Asia. Now, comparing it to an actual map that depicts the 9-dash line, you gotta ask yourself if this was done intentionally by whomever designed the Barbie map. Now, are they a history buff who thought this might go unnoticed, or is it just coincidental line dashes indicative of Barbie's worldwide travels? Now, wanting to clear the air, a Warner Brothers spokesperson was quick to comment on the controversy, saying, quote, "The map in Barbie land is a childlike crayon drawing. The doodles depict Barbie's make-believe journey from Barbie land to the real world. It was not intended to make any type of statement." Now, I'd personally be more inclined to believe that if the dashed lines didn't just seem to start and end in what I can only assume is the South China Sea. Now, usually on cartoony road maps such as the one in the Barbie movie, the dashed lines are all over the place. Though the map in the Barbie movie does appear to be more intricate than I think we're actually giving it credit for. Along with dashed lines, there appears to be arrows, boats, crowns, and an assortment of other objects illustrating Barbie's globe-trotting excursion into the real world. I don't know, maybe it's a joke about Barbie originating in China because Barbie dolls are manufactured in China in real life. Or if it is the 9-dash line, maybe the humor lies in the absurdity that Barbie and friends have a 6-year-old's understanding of global geography, yet are somehow also aware of this controversial territorial boundary. Either way, the Vietnamese government didn't think it was too funny. No. And yes, I know exactly what you're thinking. Is this man really breaking down this one scene in the Barbie movie to make a point? Yes, I am. Now, that movie caused a global shortage of pink paint, according to its production designer, which was the first of its controversies. And since then, I've been following this film quite closely to see if I could find any other flaws in its production. Because, as we all know, Barbie is flawless. Now, we'll see just how flawless the film will be in theaters come July 21st. Now, it's just a shame that those in Vietnam won't be able to. Now, it honestly would make sense to just, alter that particular scene and remove those dashed lines. I mean, not being shown in Vietnam could put put a dent in Barbie box office numbers. So it honestly wouldn't be out of the question to see WB go back and change it so that it's approved for viewing in that particular country. I'm sure removing those lines won't hurt the overall narrative of the movie, as it just seems innocuous to begin with. And honestly, it's really kind of funny. Out of the two films coming out that day, you'd think Oppenheimer would be the most likely to get banned in other countries. Somewhere in the great beyond, Robert Oppenheimer is scratching his head, just probably saying, what the f? Now look out for Godzilla coming to us here in the US in December with Godzilla -1. Now, the upcoming film takes place in a post-war Japan, with Godzilla terrorizing the denizens of the city by knocking over buildings and completely devastating the already war-torn country. Now, with this being ground zero for Japan, you'd think the film would have been titled Godzilla 0, but those expectations have been subverted, with Toho going with -1. Now, it's a little bit of an odd name for a movie, but it paints the picture as to when this particular Godzilla movie is set within the overall timeline of the giant lizard's destructive excursion. Now, the film takes place after the devastating events of World War II, which unfortunately set Japan back as a civilization, which could be why the film is titled -1, as it can be surmised that Japan was put in the negative following World War II. Now, the trailer sets the picture as to where Japan is at the time, informing us this is post-war, where Japan had lost everything. Now, this is in reference to the dropping of the atomic bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And with no time to recover from those events, Godzilla emerges to add to the destruction, with people fleeing left and right. Now, it's surprising we're getting Godzilla -1 just a year after it was announced last year on Godzilla Day, November 3rd. Now, November 3rd, 1954 was the date the original Godzilla film made its way onto the screen. Now, it's been a while since we've seen this iteration of Godzilla, as the last time we saw this particular version was in 2016 Shin Godzilla. And that particular movie was long overdue from Toho, as before Shin Godzilla, the last monster movie in the franchise was 12 years prior, with 2004's Godzilla Final Wars. Now, these films and the upcoming -1 Godzilla movie are not to be confused or lumped into the whole Godzilla Kong monsterverse Legendary and Warner Brothers are doing on their end. Now, Toho is actively working on its very own shared universe involving a whole bunch of kaiju doing what kaiju do. Speaking of kaiju doo-doo, I've always wondered what it must look like and smell like when Godzilla takes a massive dump in a cul-de-sac somewhere in the city. I probably shouldn't have just admitted that out loud. Anyway, Toho has been planning on amping up the release of its Godzilla movie since 2021, speeding up the kaiju shared universe it has planned. Now, the man in charge of the Godzilla wing over at Toho said back in 2018, quote, "After 2021, we're thinking of a potential strategy that releases Godzilla movies uninterrupted at a rate of every 2 years, although there is a preference for a yearly pace as well. The future of the series and its forwarding developments are very conscious of the method of shared universe. Godzilla, Mothra, King Ghidorah, etc. could all share a single worldview, much like a Marvel movie where Iron Man and the Hulk can cross over with each other." Now, it's not like this is new to Toho, as we've seen Godzilla face King Kong in 1962's King Kong vs. Godzilla. And he went up against that giant moth in 1964's Godzilla vs. Mothra, which was kind of Toho's first foray into a shared kaiju universe, as Mothra starred in her very own monster flick 3 years prior. Then there's Rodan, who first appeared in 1956's Rodan before mixing it up with Godzilla in 1964's Ghidorah, the three-headed monster. So if anything, it appears as though Toho wants to expand on what came naturally in the past. Now, this time putting more thought into how it brings certain kaiju creatures into the shared Godzilla universe. But even back then, it all kind of seemed like Toho had a plan for its releases, especially when you look at 1968's Destroy All Monsters, which brought together various kaiju from across the Zilla universe. Yeah, that's right, I dubbed it Zillaverse. Feel free to use it. But yes, Toho was way ahead of its time and way ahead of what we currently see in the MCU. So it's surprising that Toho is taking cues from Marvel Studios when it was doing what the MCU is currently doing well before that was even a thought path for them. But Toho is continuing the destructive path with Godzilla -1 coming out in the US this December. Now, the perfect holiday flick. Yay, lots of giant monsters smashing stuff. Anyways, let us know what you think about the trailer. Comment below and let's discuss what could be next in the Godzilla universe over at Toho. Now we're going from one giant to a titan with some DCU news. Now, after finally finding a Superman in David Cornsweet, Superman Legacy has also found a few other DC heroes. Nathan Fillion, Eddie Gathegi, and Isabella Merced are rounding out the supercast as Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific, and Hawkgirl. The best announcement here is that Nathan Fillion will be portraying Guy Gardner, who is probably the most obnoxious Green Lantern that's ever existed. Now, he also has that goofy-ass soup bowl haircut, which has been confirmed to be making an appearance in the film. That's really perfect casting, as Nathan Fillion has played similar roles in the past. I mean, just look at him in the Guardians movie, the last one. Now, the movie is currently in pre-production, even with the ongoing writer's strike. Now, James Gunn will be writing and directing the film, bringing us the first true beginning to the DCU's Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters phase of movies and shows. Superman Legacy is expected to hit theaters 2025. I'm Akeem Lawanson, filling in for Stella Chung, and that was your Weekly Fix. And we'll be back next Saturday with more of the biggest gaming and entertainment news of the week. We'll see you then.